Big Pharma has been pushing a lie about cholesterol for decades, purely so they can line their own greedy, evil pockets. In today's video, we're going to debunk the myth that cholesterol is bad for you and will give you a heart attack and cause coronary heart disease. And we're also going to go over all the reasons why cholesterol is actually really healthy for you and an important part of a healthy diet. What exactly is cholesterol? Well, there's kind of two different types of cholesterol, so we're going to go over what those different types are, and then we're going to go over all the different functions that cholesterol actually has in the human body. So cholesterol travels through your bloodstream on proteins called lipoproteins, and there's two different types. We have HDL and LDL. So LDL stands for low-density lipoprotein, and this is sometimes referred to as the bad cholesterol. And high levels of LDL cholesterol do raise your coronary heart disease risk and your risk of a stroke. HDL stands for high-density lipoprotein, and this is sometimes referred to as your good cholesterol because it actually absorbs cholesterol in the bloodstream and takes it back to the liver, and the liver then flushes it out from the body. Now, high levels of HDL can lower your risk of coronary heart disease and lower your risk of a stroke. Cholesterol is a lipophilic molecule that is essential for human life. It's a fundamental component of cell membranes. That's every cell in your entire body. And cholesterol also functions as a precursor molecule for the synthesis of a lot of hormones. Steroid hormones like cortisol and adrenal androgens. It's fundamental for the synthesis of sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Cholesterol is also a constituent of bile salts, which are used in your digestive process to help you absorb fat-soluble compounds like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. So why does cholesterol get such a bad rap? Why is everyone so terrified of dietary cholesterol specifically? Now, this has very much been pushed by the pharmaceutical industry in recent years. But let's go a little bit deeper into where the myth even started. The belief that coronary atherosclerosis is due to high cholesterol from increased saturated fat intake actually originated from experiments in herbivorous animals. It was reinforced by reports allegedly demonstrating this sequence of events in various populations, but it ignored contradictory data. And once this hypothesis of high cholesterol intake in your diet equals coronary heart disease and stroke, once that was perpetuated throughout modern culture and through society, well, then we had miraculously the invention of statins. Now, statins are a medication that big pharmaceutical companies crank out to try and lower your cholesterol levels. Problem is, they lower both HDL and LDL indiscriminately. This is known as the lipid hypothesis, by the way. Now, this hypothesis also came around about the same time as the food pyramid, which we should know by now is completely arse backwards. And there have been a lot of adverse health effects directly due to this lipid hypothesis of cholesterol. Because there has been such a demonization of cholesterol, companies have gone out and made products that are low-fat alternatives to things. Low-fat yogurt, just one such example, right? But the problem is when you take out the fat content from certain foods, they become very bad tasting. So what do companies do instead? Well, instead they replace that fat by increasing the amount of sugar in that product. So instead of getting something that's maybe full of healthy fats, you now get something that's got no healthy fats and is pumped full of sugar. And people wonder why there's an obesity crisis in America today. If you look at Mediterranean populations like Greeks and Italians, look at their diets. Their diets are extremely high in saturated fats. But these people are some of the healthiest on the planet. Now, cardiovascular disease is actually the leading cause of death in the United States. So for years, everybody thought that dietary cholesterol directly increased your blood cholesterol levels, which then led to cardiovascular disease. But to date, extensive research has not shown evidence to support the role of dietary cholesterol in the development of cardiovascular disease. So the American Heart Association has reviewed randomized controlled trials and concluded that the replacement of dietary saturated fatty acids with polyunsaturated or monounsaturated fatty acids reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. Now, a study by Fielding and Co. found that intervention with an intake of 600 milligrams of cholesterol with a diet high in saturated fatty acids led to increased LDL cholesterol, much more than when cholesterol was administered with polyunsaturated fatty acids. So what's the kind of conclusion here? Well, the current literature does not support the notion that dietary cholesterol directly increases the risk of heart disease in healthy people, but there's a lot of evidence that saturated fatty acids and trans fats increase cardiovascular disease risk. So those are the real culprits. And the fact that dietary cholesterol is common in foods that are high in saturated fatty acids might have contributed to the hypothesis that dietary cholesterol is the problem in the first place. It's very, very obvious now that high levels of HDL cholesterol in your blood are inversely associated with cardiovascular disease. So cholesterol isn't necessarily this big bad guy you think it is. It's more down to the type of fatty acids that you're actually consuming instead. Now, if you want to learn some of the foods that are killing your testosterone levels, then you should check out this video right over